Hey, Kev, it's time to record a new Smodcast.
Fuck off. I'm listening to one of the other great shows on the Smodcast podcast network. Scott?
There's so many to choose from.
You damn skippy, there's so many to choose from. I'm on 5 every week myself, man. Hollywood Babylon on Monday, Smodcast with you on Tuesday, Jay and Silent Bob Get Old on Wednesday with Jay Muse, Fat Man on Batman every Thursday, and then I wrap up the week with Edumacation with Andy McElfresh.
There's so many to choose from.
Hell yeah, son, and those aren't the only podcasts. Those are just the ones I'm involved with. What about the podcasts of Smodco that don't feature me, man? Like Tell 'em Steve Dave, Last Week on Earth with Ben Glebe, I Sell Comics with Ming and Mike.
There's so many to choose from.
Hey, man, there's also Film School Fridays or Netheads or Get Up on This, Team Jack.
There's so many to choose from.
The Breaks, man. Waking from the American Dream. Bagged and Boarded. Phoebe. Soundbite Nation. These are all the shows you could be listening to over at smodcast.com, Scott.
There's so many to choose from.
And if audio's not enough for you, man, if you're just like, no, I want the thick dick of video as well, man, we can go to our YouTube channel, which is C-Smod, or you can watch Comic Book Men, our show on AMC, following The Walking Dead and The Talking Dead every Sunday night.
There's so many to choose from.
That's right, Scott. There are so many to choose from. So get choosing, kids. Go to smodcast.com. Start getting picky, man. Stick these sweet, sweet oral sounds into your ear pussies.
There's so many to choose from.
You said that already.
There's so many to choose from.
You want a podcast? I got a Smodcast. You want a podcast? I got a Smodcast. You want a podcast? I got a Smodcast. You wanna, do you want a podcast? Do you want a show? Do you get your laughs from computer radio with this bro, Scotty Mo? It's about time to lose your shit. Everybody spark a spliff for that legend Kevin Smith.
Welcome to Smodcast. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Scott Mosier.
I was trying to keep it together.
You were.
And then in my head, it just sounded so British. I'm like, welcome to Smodcast.
That sounds British?
That to me, in my head, it was reverberating British. Here's the thing, Moj. Today, this very moment in time, you can't say this about many things, but I can account for your whereabouts right now, 20 years in the past. You know I'm fascinated by the temporal, Scott.
I know.
I want to know what's going on in the past, the future, the present, Scott. So it's always mind-fucky to me when I'm like, I can tell you exactly what you were doing 20 years ago. Like, I feel like Marilu Henner.
Marilu Henner.
She's got that magic, that magic gift from Zeus where, you know.
As soon as you said it, her fucking, it popped in my head where I was like,
Marilu Henner. This is my Marilu Henner moment.
Yeah, I'm fucking better than Marilu Henner right now.
For just this moment?
Yeah.
I would never say that in any other moment in life, of my life or hers, but in this moment, I may be better at calling up the past than Miss Marilu Henner. And that's, I know that's
yeah. Or at least you're in the same fucking, at least you're in the same room.
In the elite, amongst the same elite.
You're next to her.
Fact of the matter, she pulls it up with no reference whatsoever. If anybody's listening going, what the fuck are the taxis, Marilu Henner? We did an episode once where we talked about Marilu Henner has this fucking.
She just wrote a book about it.
The fuck out of
Not
here.
that I.
Please read it. I won't, because I'm like, I want you to read it.
I won't remember to read it. She just wrote a book and she was
a taxi to my memories. Marilu Henner talks about accessing the past. It's not that, of course.
She has but it's about her. It's about memory, and
she has this gift. What is it called? It's like fucking photographic memory, or
it's not photographic memory. It's like she's able to recall like crazy shit. Like you could be like, what were you doing 1979,
April 1st, 1979. She'd be like, well, I got up. I fucking took a shower, man. I ate some.
Washed myself.
Washed down there. Right away, you're like, oh, shit, that's sexy. And you forget everything else. For the next 10 things she says could be true, you don't know, because all you're thinking about is, she washes it?
Keeps it
first
clean.
up?
Oh, Marilu.
I want a screw.
Oh, hello, Marilu.
I want a screw.
It's like that. I went to lunch with Christopher Lloyd. She was promoting her book, and somebody did ask her, they're like, what was the first, because they were talking about football, and they're like, what was the first Super Bowl you watched? And she was like, Super Bowl 12. I think it was Dallas. Like, she picked it. She just, something that like, and they were like confirmed it. Somebody went online, like, she was like Dallas versus Green Bay or so, whatever the teams were. And she was like, she was fucking right. Like, she can go back to any time or any time of day.
Isn't that in her life?
In her life.
And tell you exactly what she did, what she was wearing, what went on, things that she interacted with. Like, you can't be like, the day Abraham Lincoln had sex with Mary Todd for the first time, she was like, oh, she was wet. Like, she can't access the past.
I mean, she could probably make that leap. She was so wet.
It was wet. Oh. Yeah. And once again, you're distracted.
Pulled out his Lincoln log.
Pulled it out and it was stinking Lincoln.
Stinking Lincoln.
Said, I cannot tell a lie. That's Washington. Oh, he was there too. Both of them were there.
Yeah, double team. Double team supreme.
She was in the thrall of the presidents.
Yeah.
They kept standing up telling stories.
Sandwich. Yeah.
Marilu Henner, Scott, for so long, man has been jealous of and
for the last year
sought to become. The power of Marilu Henner is something man
becoming
has
an
long
amazing
sought.
footnote.
I think it's an amazing
Her power of
ability.
recollection. It is amazing.
Which again, I guess they've tested it and it's accurate, but it still sounds like they're like, what'd you do when you were the morning you woke up on your 9th birthday? And she's like, oh, she can tell. She's an actress. She tells you a story. And you're like, that sounds damn convincing.
Yeah, as long as it's like in the ballpark of what a 9-year-old would do. But she'll also recall stuff that's like, if somebody saw in the news or like blah, 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 like she can connect to events that are happening at the time. So it's pretty, I mean, it is impressive.
And look, I ain't taking it away from her, but I'm trying to understand it because it sounds an awful lot like I'm all the time. I'm like, oh yeah, I did this thing. And remember when I was this young and blah, blah, blah. I could tell stories about the past as well. It's her detail. It's all about detail.
You should go up against her. Get her on the show.
Fucking mind battle.
April 17th, 2000. What were you doing? And you're like, probably,
No, I'm like, enter the chamber. Marilu Henner. Step on the pedestal and we shall engage in a battle of the minds. And I just staring at each other, trying to make each other fall off the pedestal and shit. Spikes appear underneath. Fucking little tank opens up, shark. Move me with your mind, Marilu Henner. She's like, I couldn't move you with a bulldozer. Let's be honest. Hey, this is a battle of the mind, not hateful words.
Bitch.
Yeah, fuck it. You win. Who could be that cruel? Oh, I know. Marilu fucking Henner. And she'll remember how cruel she was. Like, because she can't help it. She's got a magical gift. Yeah, it's not out of any malice. It's cursed.
Yeah, she's, I don't know. It's her mutant power or whatever.
It is a mutant power, Scott, and I wish I had it, but I don't. But today, why is this day different than all other days when it comes to Marilu Henner mind memory shit? Why am I on par with her for just this moment? This is like Lady Hawk. You know, like fucking for just a minute.
The sun and the moon.
Me and Marilu Henner for one moment a year could touch and be on the same intellectual plane. Not intellectual. We remember as well as each other. Yeah. But I am aided by a book. I wrote shit down. She pulls it from her fucking brain.
Yeah. She has a fucking journal brain.
She's like the Watcher, man, from the fucking Marvel Universe. She's like, I've seen all. I know all.
I know
forget
all
nothing.
the things I did.
Yeah, I've seen everything.
Impressive.
I have seen all that I have been involved with. I have memorized all that has happened to just me. And mankind will learn from my direct examples.
from things that I have witnessed myself.
And what I wore, which I can explain every outfit.
I washed myself.
Did she just say she washed?
The Watcher washed? The Watcher has washed.
Hey, you're the washer. Now, none of that.
You.
You shall carry my wash rag. Oh, done, washer. Done. Stop calling me. God, I'm so mad. I told you guys this. Back to watching. Back to the cosmos. To battle a cosmic genie for the fate of mankind. Don't fuck with a cosmic genie. Too late. Scott's all a long way of saying that I have a book here. I found my journal from Sundance, 1994.
It's dated.
It's dated. And so as today is 1/22,
Yes.
2014,
Yes.
which would have seemed like a Jetsons-like future to the boy who wrote this book. This was written on 1/22/94. I could take you into the mind and into our activities of our week at Sundance with this glorious fucking journal. Written by a kid who's not that far removed from Emo Kev, I've noticed in some of the
You've
prose.
still got some roots in that.
Yeah, it's a little
your
flowery in
transition
places. A little bit. Like, it's weird. I can see the guy who wrote Clerks, but I can also see Emo Kev, and perhaps they are one and the same. Take us there. Sundance Kid Kev. Copyright.
Copyright trademark.
1/20/94, Scott. Handwritten, I might add.
Yeah.
No digital devices, kids. Bunch of kids going like, why the fuck? No digital
No
devices.
iPad.
I'm a filmmaker, but you don't really have like, you got clunky old large cameras and shit like that.
Did you have a laptop at that point?
No, I did not. No, I didn't even have a computer. I wrote Clerks on that Smith Corona word processor, and I didn't buy a laptop until after Clerks, and that's what I wrote.
No cell phones.
This is the fucking dark ages, man.
Yeah.
Only about 100 channels at this point. No YouTube,
No.
no Twitter, no Facebook.
Not really on the internet. I no emails.
Yeah, you're right. There were no emails during Clerks.
I mean,
we didn't get into that until later.
Somebody might have.
Oh, it existed.
Yeah.
We just didn't have it. It was on the college campuses and shit, and smart people
Smart people are doing
world,
that.
but it hadn't reached us yet. It would soon. After Clerks, we wind up, getting an office, and then with the office, we wind up like doing shit like getting the internet. You couldn't even get the internet put in. You just had a separate phone line put in.
Yeah.
And then jacked in this little dial-up fucking modem and shit. So we're taking you back. This is a dark, dark time for the rebellion. 1994. Grunge, flannels.
Yeah.
Fucking Nirvana.
Seattle music scene.
Happening, just breaking and shit like that. All apologies. Here we go. And a young Kev Smith and a young Scott Mosier are venturing up to
94
Sundance with their film. In his own words, Sundance Kid Kev says, it begins. We get into...
It begins.
We get into Park City after a van ride with a British director looking to make films in the U.S. Dude, I'm so enthusiastic. I'm like, we're in movie world. I don't even know who this fucker is, but I'm like, I'm going to tell you details. I'm like Tracy Flick at the beginning of this journey. By the end, I'm just like, I become some other thing. But now I'm bright-eyed, bushy-tailed.
You're excited.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, as you should be.
Listen to this and listen to the trademark sense of humor, Scott. We get into Park City after a van ride with a British director looking to make films in the U.S. in parentheses. Aren't we all? What a dick. At the shuttle place, we meet Rose and Gwen again. Now, this is Rose Trochet and Gwen Turner.
Yeah.
The girls who made, the women who made Go Fish, which you'll hear a lot about in these pages. We had met them previously in the editing room, when me and Scott went there to cut off the ending of the Clerks
the shooting.
Where Dante gets shot.
Yeah.
So we went to use their editing room because John Pearson was repping us and he was repping them and he had produced their movie.
Yep. He
said, you could bring your print up there. We'll just cut it off. And we met the girls and talked to them for a little bit. Yep. So this is us in Park City. And apparently we see them again. At the shuttle, we meet Rose and Gwen again, as well as one of their actresses, Valerie. Mr. Pearson. I don't call John Pearson John yet. I call him Mr. Pearson. Mr. Pearson seems to dote on Rose and Gwen, but it's to be expected. He's got a year and a huge investment with Go Fish. With us, it's a few months and some FedEx bills. So already Emo Kev's at work. He's like, why aren't I more alive?
Me.
Why is he loving me as much as those lesbians? This easily could have been an episode of My So-Called Life. The condo is sweet, plenty big, and very comfy. And after securing our registration packs and being told that our screening sold out pretty quickly, and organizing our 10-day agenda, Scott and I venture into town. It's a lot of information.
Yeah, it was quick.
We grapple with the decision to attend the opening night gala and opt for a go. Carol, a woman we met at registration, gets us a ride.
The opening night is in Salt Lake.
Carol, a woman we met at registration, gets us a ride. We're severely underdressed, so we gravitate toward the second tier and drink Coors Light, watching the crowd of nobodies.
Amazing.
Except Andy McDowell pile in. So Andy McDowell's there, so maybe it is 4 weddings and funeral. I don't know. Mrs. Pearson, John Pearson's wife, who is now known to the world as Janet Pearson
of South by Southwest,
the head of the South by Southwest Film Festival for the past 5 years or more. Mrs. Pearson, but then just good old Mrs. Pearson, who co-runs John's business with him. But Mrs. Pearson buys us another round. This I found fascinating. Apparently, I'm drinking a lot. And we go for beer later on. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I don't think of myself as that guy.
We were fucking tearing it up.
I think we were, because I think I was nervous and I was like, this is fucking weird.
I need to fucking medicate.
I'm self-medicating. Who am I?
Who are these nobodies?
Why does he love these lesbians more than me?
Give me that. You're a nobody. We all want money from America.
Who's that screaming everybody up in the balcony? Some nobody. Hey. That hurt.
Give me that.
Another Coors Light. Andy McDowell called me a nobody. Mrs. Pearson buys us another round, and we talk to her for a while about life and love and kids and business with our czar of representation. Oh, so I was like, why are we talking about? She's talking about life with John.
Yeah.
We're pressing her for details of life of John. John's a rock star to us at that point, and a bit of a mystery. Following, and Janet's just lovely to talk to. Janet Pearson, in fact, responsible for John watching Clerks and then repping it. He didn't want to rep films anymore after Amongst Friends, and he was like, I'm out of film repping.
Yeah.
And Janet watched it first, and he came home from a trip, and Janet Pearson said to him, if you are truly out of the film repping business, do not watch Clerks. And he's like, why? And she's like, it's really funny. And so he popped it in, and, suddenly it was like, So Janet was the one who really got the ball rolling and whatnot. Following that, we get acquainted with the Go Fish posse, and they turn out to be extremely approachable and casual. Apparently, in my head, Scott, the lesbians were vicious, cat-like.
Just fucking whispering. You're like, keep an eye.
Beware the lesbians. My parish priest, Father Dave, warned me of if they get their lesbian spittle on you, you could become one.
The gay girls will drink your blood.
Thanks, Father Dave. Pray for me. I will. Jesus, protect him from the lesbians. The lesbians of Sundance. We take off around midnight and get a ride home with Mark Tusk and a writer from Chi-Town. I can't write Chicago. It would have taken less time to write Chicago than it did to write Chi-Town.
Just put a little flavor in there.
That would be Patrick, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Right? Patrick McDara, maybe. Mark, God bless him, gets us stoned.
Yes.
I remember that. He drove and he was smoking weed. And that was like the weirdest, strangest, scariest thing I'd ever seen. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's pitch fucking black. And Patrick was driving.
I don't remember, but we were in a
car and we were
in a rent-a-car. We weren't driving.
And weed was being smoked and they passed it back. We were like, this is the movie.
This is Hollywood. Don't fuck this up, Mojo.
You better smoke it. Get fucking high. Scott was like pretending to smoke. He's like, oh, this is good marijuana. I was like, he ain't really smoking it. Like, shut the hell out. Let's get him.
Let's sell him to the Mormons.
As a bride. Mark, God bless him, gets a stone, makes an off-the-cuff revelation, which, I mean, we all know this. Mark's gay.
Oh, yeah.
That was the revelation. So all this time we've been dealing with Mark Tusk, who is at Miramax. He was a big fan at Miramax, the guy that brought Clerks into Miramax, head of acquisitions.
He had seen it.
We're in acquisitions.
Yeah,
I don't know if he was that. He had seen it, loved it. He was a New Jersey,
and we had met him
County boy. We'd met him a few times in New York and whatnot. Took us out to lunch. He was writing the name of the movie on the receipt. And he was like, what about an X at the end? Clerks, like Generation X. I was like, I don't know. It kind of pigeonholes it to a moment. He's like, think about it. And I did. And thank God we never went there. But Mark
I thought about it.
Yeah, I don't like it. But Mark was such a big fan of the movie and he was the one that had pushed Harvey to come see it. Like he had organized a screening with John Pearson at the Tribeca Film Center.
Prior to Sundance,
downstairs from Miramax. That Harvey could watch the movie and perhaps preemptively buy it. That was John Pearson's strategy, sell the movie before Sundance. Cause he was going to sell Go Fish at Sundance and be the first film to ever sell at the Sundance Film Festival.
Because prior to that,
never happened.
Yeah.
Sometimes happened before, usually happened after, but nobody ever bought a film at the festival until 1994. The very first one was Go Fish. The very second was spoilers. The very second one was Clerks.
Yeah.
So, John's idea is like, get it to Miramax. Tusk loves it. Maybe Harvey will fucking buy it and boom, we're in heaven. Cause that's where we want to be. Miramax was gold standard. And they'd organize a screening. Harvey came in from fucking London, just landed, got there, sits down. It's packed with like young people at Miramax and fucking the first 15 minutes of Clerks back in those days. And maybe even right now, not the strongest part of the movie, not the funniest rather.
Yeah.
And it also has a guy laying into another cat about smoking cigarettes, the anti-smoking tirade.
Yeah.
And that was enough to fucking Harvey was like, got up and left. And so we thought we were dead at Miramax. So Tusk driving us at Sundance, we've met him. He's a good guy and he's getting a stone, but it's like we can't even network with Tusk for our movie. Like you got to realize when me and Mosier went to Sundance, we were done. John had shown the movie to everybody. Nobody bought it. So we felt like we're just going to Sundance to show the movie, which is fucking cool because we couldn't believe we were one of the 16. We weren't like, we got to fucking sell this. Remember, Clerks was like a calling card movie. It was meant to show people like, we know how to make a movie. Can you give us money next time so we don't have to pay for it? So all this shit was bonus gravy. We weren't expecting nothing. It wasn't like the plan wasn't go to Sundance. We found out about that by accident. So going to Sundance, knowing nobody was going to buy the movie, it was kind of liberating. We weren't up there going like most people go to Sundance with a film to sell. And they're like, God, I hope I get it. They hope somebody buys the movie.
Yeah.
So we kind of just went up going, I can't believe like the 16 fucking movies that they picked. We're one of them. This fucking rocks. And we're going to see famous people.
Give me that beer.
Yeah, fuck it. And then we got there. We're like, who are all these fucking nobodies?
We were promised beer and famous people. And we got the beer, which is good.
Yeah, this Coors Light is good, but we're the famous. Oh, it's Andy McDowell. Oh, shit. We're back on track.
Never mind what I said before.
So that's the world we're in by the time we head to Sundance. So here we are driving through the fucking Wilderness with Mark Tusk and Patrick McDara. Mark apparently gets a stone, God bless him. Makes his off-the-cuff revelation that he's gay. We didn't know it up until that point. No. And then we're in a car driving through the wilderness.
Like,
with Stone guy. Yeah, Mother's like, oh, well, I never suck it. And he's like, I didn't say anything about that.
Well, as long as we're clear. Give me some more of that weed.
I said, clear. He makes his off-the-cuff revelation, apparently is driving, and misses our Park City exit.
Yes.
We get home with an extreme case of the munchies, which go unsated. So we went home, you and I, and there were no fucking snacks.
Fuck.
Next day, Scott. That was our first day in Park City.
That was the first day.
1/21/94. Scott gets a call from a Sony rep who wants to meet us about the second. He fucking hung out with Mark Tusk. He's like, you take these two little boys driving in the woods, get them high.
They'll suck it.
Suddenly we're getting tons of calls.
At first.
Yeah, they'll pretend that they ain't into it.
But they'll do anything for Hollywood.
He saw Andy McDowell. He started sucking my dick.
Yeah.
Scott gets a call from Sony rep who wants to meet us about the second film, not the Clerks.
Yeah.
No big deal. He hasn't even seen Clerks. We talked to Jeff and Lisa. So Jeff and Lisa are there. Jeff Anderson, Randall, and Lisa Spoonhour, Caitlin, got it together, after the movie. And so they were a couple. Yeah. I don't know if they're married yet, but they're dating pretty heavily at this point. Lisa cleans and Jeff rants about losing his luggage. They lost his luggage. I remember that. He was so pissed off and shit. We grabbed some breakfast. I talked to Tori Metzger was my agent at CAA. I had just gotten right before the festival about bringing the 3/4, the copies of the movie, with me to the screening or whatever, 3/4 tapes.
Yeah.
I guess. I called Dad. Talked to Kit Kat. That's Scott's sister, Kristen. She wasn't with us at this point. She comes up later on. We head into town and hook up with the girls. Now, as you can see, we're spending a lot of time with the Go Fish girls. There were wonderful parallels. We're both represented by the Mac himself, John Pearson.
Yep.
We're both black and white movies that are very frank about sex.
Yep.
One's considered the boys' movie. One's considered the girls' movie. They're kind of, oddly related, brother-sister pictures and whatnot. And these girls, we don't know anybody in fucking Park City.
No.
They don't know anybody in Park City.
And we're all going through this for the first time.
Oh, it was magic. So naturally, we gravitate toward one another. We grab some breakfast. I talk about bringing them up. We head into town, hook up with the girls. They invite us for some cheap scotch, and we talk about tons of stuff before heading to the Egyptian for the premiere of Go Fish. So the day they're premiering their movie at the Egyptian, they're hanging out with us and we're drinking scotch with them. So they must have been nervous too. Because why would fucking a bunch of cool lesbians want to hang out with two fucking white dorks like us?
I don't know.
We had no edge whatsoever. No,
white
straight dorks, I should
say. Well,
fucking,
the night before we got high,
they're like, hey man, we heard from our gay friend Mark Tusk, the gay hotline, that you guys got high in a car with them and sucked dick. I'm like, wait.
wait.
We got high. So we're hanging out with these girls. You can see here, chasing Amy begins, particularly later on in the book. You'll see. It's crazy. Yeah.
But I would say I do remember it being like our first time, so you wanted to be a part of it, so it's also like the excitement of somebody else's premiere. So I do know that we were very active that festival.
We were there for 10 days.
Yeah.
Like we were there the whole fucking festival, and our shit didn't start until halfway through.
Yeah.
So for the first few days, all we did was go to movie. Again, we were film fans too. Don't forget. We not only did we have a film, but we had a film that we weren't trying to sell and it didn't play till the second half of the festival. So me and Moj went up there watching motherfucking movies. We were just like, we're going to see fucking famous people drink beer and see movies. It was the greatest thing anyone could fucking possibly have told us at that point.
And we went to I remember I'm sure it'll come up that we were going to Sundance sponsored events and
not like it is now though. There was not free gifting suites.
No.
Mm-mm. There's a breakfast with Bob that we get to.
Yeah.
Not Bob Weinstein. Hey, boys. Yeah, we're talking about Bob Redford.
Fuck yeah.
Robert the Bob Redford. Okay. Here's my review of Go Fish. It's funny, sweet, and spicy. just like the girl. Afterwards, Scott and I grabbed some dinner with Jeff and Lisa, then back to the Egyptian for the premiere of Backbeat. Cheryl, Laura Palmer Lee, and Stephen, the Power of One Dorf, were there.
Does that actually say that?
Yes.
The Power of One.
And Gina Rollins, Seymour Cassell. Look at me. And again, with Andy McDowell. So I'm star watching. What do they call stargazing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm impressed. 23-year-old Kev Smith, impressed by celebrity, seeing famous people. He didn't see him a bunch where he came from.
No.
This is new to him.
I know they're everywhere.
He's writing everybody, even Stephen Dorff. He's like, hey, I saw the Dorff, man.
Power of One.
Like, it's a little guy on his knees. Tim Conway. No, not Dorff on golf. Stephen, the Power of One Dorff. Actually, I'm still here. Ooh, I'm writing from the premiere. I'm writing from Backbeat, dude, in the audience.
Oh, wow.
Past Kev is communicating to future Kev, or present Kev to you, Scott, that he's still there. Actually, I'm still here. Cheryl Lee is standing quietly on stage with Dorff, the John Lennon guy, and the director. There was a dude who played John Lennon.
Yeah.
He had played him in that short film, The Hours and the Times, as well. And then he played him again in Backbeat.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Cheryl Lee. Talking about Laura Palmer. She's extremely attractive, I say. I like these stars. I like the looks of these stars. We listen to the banal Q&A.
I like this. I don't like that.
Oh, what a judgy little prick I am. I sound like the internet before. I sound like every internet fucking blogger or film critic and shit like that. We listen to the banal Q&A, and I opt not to ask a question. I'm the star of the show. Don't you realize, Scott? We're the Backbeat premiere. And of course, everyone's waiting for the nobody from Jersey, the fat nobody, to ask a question. At one point, that's who I was. I ain't proud of it.
No. No question.
Looking around the room as they're like, anybody? And I'm just looking around, satisfied with myself, smirking, like, oh, I won't be asking a question. Nobody cares. At one point, the girls leave. We saw them a few rows over, and it's to be the last time we see them tonight. We take off shortly after and use the party ticket we suckered from Adrian to go to the Z Place reception. I don't know who this Adrian is, but we're suckering tickets out of this person, man or woman. Don't know who it is. We have a beer, some smokes. We have like the Mackenzie brothers. We have a beer and some smokes.
And then we went down and got some krillers.
Kick back, get some corn. It's movie time. We have a beer, some smokes. Get to see Laura Palmer up close. And now I've reduced her to her screen personality. And then leave, seeing no one we wanted to hang out with. That includes, really, in parentheses, I write the girls, Bob, John. So that's it.
So really, say like no one we know,
or really nobody talked to us, so we left. Emo Kev at Sundance. We find out when tomorrow's shuttle for breakfast with Bob, in parentheses, Redford, leaves. See Jeff and Lisa going in and go home with stuff we bought at 7-Eleven, cereal and beer. I remember that. I remember going to that 7-Eleven buying cereal and beer. I nearly kill a box of tricks and then it's to bed. Which honestly probably could punctuate any entry into every journal page I've ever written in my fucking life. In less than 24 hours, Clerks makes its Sundance Film Festival bow.
Wow.
Now, Scott, I'm going to take you like a slap track into the past, Scott, directly to what we were doing on January 22nd, 1994, 20 years ago from this moment in time.
Yes.
If you go back to this day and tell these kids, A, in 20 years, you'll still be hanging out with each other, and B, you'll be doing a podcast, we would just be like, are you going to make us suck your dick too in the Utah wilderness? At least we take weed. Give us weed.
Mitigate its first.
Mitigate with weed. I met my younger self and he cried.
Yeah. Offered to suck my dick.
I thought about it because I figured,
Oh boy.
just like jerking off.
Yeah.
But the fear in his eyes. Even if it was me, I couldn't do it to my younger self. So fuck Scott, young Scott.
Yeah. So he switched off.
It wasn't as weird.
Yeah. We high-fived.
As we sucked each other off. And when I say we, I mean our younger self.
Yeah. Finally.
It was not
thinking we had made it.
It was not gay. Yet the gayest thing that ever happened. We found balance. Here we
In
go.
our mouths.
In the mouths of our younger selves. Here you go. 122.94, part 1. There's a little schedule at the top of the page. 11 a.m., breakfast with Bob at Sundance. 4:30 p.m., Cinemax reception at Cafe Torrigo on Main Street. And then at 10 p.m. at night, Scott, Clerks debuts at the Holiday Village Cinema One.
Yep.
This is what happens in the beginning of the day. It's about 4 a.m. on Saturday, and I can't really sleep. I'm excited, obviously.
Yeah.
We only had one other screening of this movie, and it was a fucking disaster, and nobody was there. So this is kind of like the first time anybody
This is
will
a
ever
real
see it.
screen.
I don't know. Maybe it's the horror of finding out Gary Coleman doesn't piss on yesterday's Geraldo. Remember that? When we were sitting there, we sat around and watched an episode of Geraldo, and in it, he was talking to Geraldo, and he talked about not, because, he had a kidney problem. So I guess he had like some sort of bag or something like that. But we were like stunned into silence. We're like, he doesn't pee? Arnold doesn't pee? What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah. What you talking about?
We were horrified. I felt so bad. But no matter. I can use the
But onward.
This is about me. But no matter, I can use this time to go into some detail about things thus far. Once again, Scott and I find ourselves, here comes the drama. Here comes the emo Kev. Once again, Scott and I find ourselves relegated to the sidelines. 9 times out of 10, we put ourselves there. This time, however, it feels more applied by outside forces. We're loners, Scott, rebels.
We are.
But not in this instance. This is me wanting to belong, but we don't belong.
Wanting to feel more like you belong.
Yes. I'm talking like a fucking paranoiac. I even say that. But one thing is for sure. Mr. Pearson is very preoccupied with Go Fish and the girls. Now, again, Clerks was not a movie. John didn't have a dime in this movie.
Yeah.
It was a movie, and he wasn't taking a fee. He later never took a fee. He didn't take a dime to do any of this and stuff. The one thing he said was like, when he called back, he liked Clerks a bit. I've talked about this before. You could listen to another podcast about it. But in short, he called back after his wife, Janet, was like, don't watch this if you don't want to be in film rep business. He liked it a lot. He called me and he was like, I love this movie. I think it's funny, but I don't think the audience for this movie exists yet. So I don't think there's anything to do. Like, I don't know nobody would know what to do with this sort of thing, but it's really great. And if you're ever in the city, I'll take you out to eat. So I was like, well, there it is. There goes that. We were told this guy was our Messiah and nobody. And then a week later, he called back and he was just like, I've been watching this movie again and again. Like, maybe there's some play we have here. Maybe there's something we can do. You want to talk about it? I was like, fuck yeah. Cause he was it. He was the guru.
Yeah.
He was the independent
Messiah.
guru. And his plan was, he's like, I don't know if I can get the movie bought. I can't guarantee that, but I think I can get you an agent. He's like, I think you can get your next movie set up. And that's more important than the first movie. He's going, and then in return for this, I want you to help me write this book. And I was like, what book? And he was writing Spike Mike Slacks and Dykes. And he's like, I just want to sit down and talk to you as the filmmaker, and I'm going to transcribe our conversations and put them in the book and stuff. And I was like, oh, God, yes. Yes to all of this. He's like, and then we're going to take a ride in the Utah woods and we're smoking weed. Suck my dick. Like,
welcome to Hollywood. A trail of dicks. My life in Hollywood.
By the time I got to the set of Mallrats, I had all these cold sores around my mouth. A trail of all those who helped me forward. That's the amazing thing. There is no fucking dick sucking in this story. Everyone was really nice to us.
Yeah.
Or they didn't want to
Yeah,
suck
they were
the dicks.
repulsed.
Yeah,
They're like, hey, losers, suck your own dick. They're like, like,
there's a good idea.
Because of the movie? They're like, no, I didn't see it.
For our pleasure. Like, oh.
Entertain us.
Do it better. That's sad sucking. I want happy sucking. That's better.
Andy McDowell, look at this thing.
Surrounded by the Sundance elite, forced to suck the cocks of strangers.
Two boys.
And Andy McDowell won't help.
Yeah.
It's just the price you pay, boys.
We all been there.
Okay, back to the fucking look. I don't even have to make up some sad, funny bullshit. Listen to how sad I get about. As I was saying, John had no money in our movie,
But he also, to put it in context, is like, no, but in contrast to our film, which everyone had seen. So really, it's like there's no ta-da. There's no just like, oh shit, you better all get there because this is your fucking chance. John did the opposite with
Clerks.
with
Go
Fish.
Oh, yeah, he kept it under wraps.
Nobody had seen the movie. So this first screening that we went to at the Egyptian was really everybody's first chance. And what that did was immediately spark
feeding frenzy.
Yeah,
and John wanted to sell the movie there at the festival.
and he wanted to do it fast and he wanted to just keep it moving. So he was, as you wrote, not really paying attention to us.
Especially because our movie didn't even screen till the second half of the fest.
Yeah.
But this little bitch, fucking Fat Kev Smith. Well, he wasn't. He called me Fat Kev Smith. Thin Kev Smith, this little emo bitch in 1994. He's fucking worried that Homeboy's not paying enough attention to him.
Yeah.
Story changes later on, but still.
Which I would say
It's
that
like an after school special.
there's a lot of nerve. I mean, there's a lot of nerves involved. So I would defend your feeling is just like you're nervous and you're like,
You're giving me a little space.
yeah. I think we're both nervous and and you are there and you're like, what do we do? Like,
Let's drink beer.
Yeah. I think we didn't know what to really do. And so we were looking to, it was the truth of like, you're looking to someone like him to be like, and just like you want to be around somebody who's like, well, but everyone knows him. So it's like, if
He's our guy.
yeah.
Blah, blah,
like
blah.
otherwise we're standing off in the back room going like, Laura Palmer Purdy.
Yeah, or fucking, did you see Andy McDowell again? Meanwhile, I went there to see celebrities and I see one
He's
more
everywhere.
once. You get all judgy and shit. Madcap. Okay. Back to the drama. This movie, again, though, Go Fish, he got money in it.
He does.
So naturally, and for all the
There's a
reasons
bunch of
Scott
reasons.
listed,
Yeah.
but it's just obvious for why he is paying attention to it, except to this guy, to this young Kev Smith.
Now, I would say in our defense, I don't know if maybe he did. Do you remember him laying it out of being like, this is our strategy where it's like,
here, I say it here. I say, I think that's due heavily to the fact that he planned to have us picked up by the festival so he could concentrate on the girls, and things didn't quite work out that way. In retrospect, I wonder if he would rep us if he could choose to do it again. We'll see if he notices us by tonight at our screening. I sound like a fucking teen girl. Teen girls are laughing at me going, no, you sound like a fucking fat 40 fucking.
You're speculating whether we would show up to the screen and he'd be like, John, it's us.
I know. I'm looking for a pretty woman ending to this whole thing.
And he just fucking ignores us.
Mrs. Pearson has been cool. I joked around with her yesterday at the theater. She's cool. Too bad she's leaving tomorrow. She bought us beer.
Why?
I don't even recognize this kid, man. I'm all hopped up on fucking Coors Lights.
Beer is currency in Park City.
Beer and dick sucking is the only way to get anything done here. I hate to interrupt this awesome Smodco podcast, but somebody got to pay the fucking bill. Somebody got to have the balls to be like, give us money. So here we go, man. Some ads. And then we'll get back into the show. Stamps.com, Scott, man. Odds are you're probably more productive when you're working from your own desk. Am I correct?
Fuck yeah.
Right? Like, who wants to go out in the world? How? You lose productivity when you leave your desk. That's why I don't even go to the bathroom, dude. I'll shit at my desk.
I have a bucket.
Right? That's your productivity bucket.
Yeah.
The wife's like, what is that smell? They're like, that's my productivity bucket. I can't leave this desk.
That pays the bills.
You tolerate the smell. That's the smell of productivity. You don't have to get in that fucking fight with your wife yet again, people, if you go to Stamps.com. Stamps.com, you buy and print official U.S. postage right from your own computer and printer, man. They'll send you a fucking digital scale so you can measure your packages, print out the exact type of postage you want. The scale automatically calculates the exact postage for any letter or any class of mail, so you never have to waste valuable time going to the post office again. And with the time you're saving by doing this at your desk, you can go take a shit in the bathroom like a normal person.
Yeah, you
throw out that productivity pot. Get some shit done where it belongs, not at your goddamn desk. This is an amazing service. I've been using it for a while. I believe in this. I've talked about it many times. The idea of fucking printing your own stamps, that is as God is, dude. God can print his own stamps out. The post office could, and now we can too. Finally, we joined that fucking mighty list.
He did on the 8th day?
Yeah, on the 8th day. He was like, I got to tell people what I did these previous 7 days. I got to send out a lot of postcards. And he bought stamps, Scott, and he hated going to the post office. Even God is just like, what a wretched place this is. Because he wants to do it from his own fucking desk, man. God can print postage from his desk, so can fucking you. I use it. You can now too, man. If you go right now to Stamps.com, you go use the promo code SMOD, S-M-O-D, and they'll give you a no-risk trial plus a $110 bonus offer, which includes that digital scale I was hyping before and shit, up to $50 in free postage. For some people, they're like, I'm only going to send $50 worth of postage all year long.
Exactly.
Fucking steal. You just got over.
You just got laid.
Yeah, right there. Stamps.com's like, ooh, they figured us out. But you're going to love them so much that you're going to get them fucking next year, the year after that. And you're going to start mailing some shit more. The only reason you're using so much email is because you're like, the thought of going to the fucking post office repulses me. The real world is terrifying.
I will use this internet thing.
You can do it now, man. Don't fucking wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. Type in the word SMOD. That's how we get credit for this nonsense. Stamps.com. Enter SMOD. Stamps.com, I'm telling you, will make your life easier. The girls are the high point of this trip thus far. Rose is well-spoken and a bit of an ageist. She's 29, who was surprised that we were cool to be with, even though we're both kids. In fact, she called me a wonder kid at one point. She's got true filmmaking skills, experimental background as well. I wonder if she's kind of regretful over her split with Guinevere. Man, they used to date. And they were very open about it and shit. Guinevere. Here I am right before my first screening, dude, and I can write a paragraph each on Rose and Gwen. Like, you'd imagine I'd be like, what will happen to me? But I'm like, well, I'm writing shit like this. Guinevere, such a pretty name for such a pretty girl. I enjoy blasting her gently. Oh, man, if you just end the sentence there, it's fucking hot.
This shit just got hot.
I enjoy blasting her gently for her premiere quote. She said something in Premiere Magazine. She's easy to make laugh. Last night, she blew us kisses from across the theater at Backbeat. Do I have a crush on her? No, but it's cool that she's gay. Because you can play with her, talk smack, and not get crossed wires. Which I guess I mean more for me. Because, most girls are like, I don't have crossed wires.
Yeah.
No matter what we talk about, I am never fucking you. I would never fuck you. This isn't about me being gay. Yeah. This is about me having common sense. So we're 2 days in, Scott, and there's still more than a week left. We've yet to see Bob Hawk. We can hang out with Sloss when he gets here. Who knows if Brian's coming? We were unsure whether or not Brian O'Halloran was showing up. Spoilers, he does. Virginia, my sister, she arrives in a few days. Ed is here in a few hours. Ed Hapstack joined us at Sundance. Kristen comes out on Monday. Kristen, Scott's sister. Lots of names and things to do. In 17 hours, Clerks premieres. And then we go to a part 2, which was written at 7 p.m. The first part was written at 4 a.m. This is 7 p.m. on January 22nd.
Yeah, the first screen.
1994. We headed out to the filmmaker brunch at Sundance. Scott and I bitch about Mr. Pearson's neglect for the 45-minute ride. Whole time we're like, and stride into brunch.
Yes.
We walked in like, Pamp. Andy McDowell is there. In parentheses, again. She's like, what else am I supposed to do?
I'm here.
Yeah, I got invited by Robert Redford. Why are you here? Why do I keep seeing you? I didn't even see you because you're a nobody. I'm like, oh. She got me there.
Oh, Andy McDowell.
You win this round.
Yeah. As doubt I'll see you again.
One day I'll be as famous as Andy McDowell. And everyone will be a nobody to me. As well as Jenna Rollins, Seymour Cassell, Jeff Gilmore. He's the head of the festival at that point. He programmed the festival. And the man himself, Bob Redford. His skin is baked. I wrote that in 1994. He's very sun-baked at that point.
Yeah.
We eat and head outside for a smoke where we meet our fave raves, Gwen and Rose. I can't remember ever using the expression fave rave before. We eat with them and spend the rest of the ride back talking smack and getting real acquainted with the girls. We accompanied them to Z Place, and they introduced us to Tom Kalin, who directed Swoon.
Yep.
He's coming to our screening. That means a lot to me because I'm like, this motherfucker directed movies and shit like that. We spend 3 hours getting drunk and yakking with the girls. Mr. Pearson stops by and tells us about the big interest in Go Fish. We have a joint interview with a Chicago Tribune reporter and raise eyebrows with our candor. From there, it's over to Cafe Chirigo for the Cinemax reception and free beer. I don't even recognize this kid. We see Fred Ward for the second time. Now that's exciting. He gets a pass. Yeah. Andy McDowell
every time. It's like it gets worse.
Oh my God, Andy McDowell will go to the opening of a fucking
Fred Ward.
Oh my God, the magic of Fred Ward twice in one day. Sundance is truly a place of gods. We see Fred Ward a second time and talk further with Gwen, Rose, and Valerie. Valerie is one of the stars of Go Fish. Tom Kalin stops by again, and the girls head over to the library for their second screening. Me and Scott go back to the condo where Ed arrives. We talk about his girlfriend, Tara. He reveals his cachet of booze from the flight. He took a bunch of fucking booze from the flight. He sweet talked the stewardess, and she was like you can take this all. Oh, he brought all his booze. And Scott works on his neck. I don't know if it's Ed's neck or your neck.
I don't know.
Maybe he had a bad neck. Maybe he had a bad neck. I don't know. In 2.5 hours, Clerks. So we're 2.5 hours away.
2.5 hours out.
Here we go. Part 3. We take off for the library and catch the tail end of Rose, Gwen, and Valerie on stage for Q&A. It went well, extremely well. At the close of it, we chat, and then the Pearsons and the ladies head to a meeting with Goldwyn. I wasn't too jealous. They're going to sell the movie.
Yeah.
Which they do. They wind up selling to Goldwyn because there was a woman who was on Sundance Selection Committee who left Sundance right after they selected and then got a job at Goldwyn. And so she had seen Go Fish and she was like, you must get this movie. She had the inside track and stuff. So boom, they were going to have this Goldwyn meeting. Ed, Scott, and I head into town early and find the Holiday Village. This is the cinema. It's a multiplex in Sundance, the Holiday Village Cinema. And the screens aren't that big in terms of the audience. Maybe 100, 150 or something like that. Getting there was interesting considering we were liquored up. Ed gets some pizza and I head to the bathroom and shit fret my jitters. Apparently right before the screening, I took a shit in the bathroom of the Holiday Village. Didn't remember that. If somebody held a gun to my head and like, did you take a shit in the Holiday Village ever? I'd be like, God, no, God, no. And they'd shoot because I'd be wrong. About the intro, I shit my jitters about the intro out. So I'm worried about introducing the movie. I'm worried about getting up in front of an audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't recognize this kid. We find a really pissed off Jeff and Lisa who aren't too happy that they have no tickets, even though we ourselves didn't have tickets to speak of. He had asked for second half Clerks tickets originally because there were
those two sets of
sets of tickets. We finally see Bob Hawk, and following hugs, he informs us of his plan to get Jeff, Lisa, and Ed into the theater. Once they're secure, we chat outside with Bob Hawk, and then it's into the theater. Also meet the director of Happy Loving Couples, the short that precedes us. The short film usually precedes each movie. So we met the filmmakers of a short in front of the movie. Bob Hawk introduces the short's director, then Scott and I. I thank Bob, making mention of our legendary abysmal IFFM screening. I thank Ed, Jeff, and Lisa, and acknowledging the late hour, asking the audience to stay with us on the grounds that will pay off, because we're a late screening. Oh, but wait. Before we go up, Mrs. Pearson comes to us and breaks the news that John will be late due to the Goldwyn meeting. I ask her to tell the girls to wait till next show rather than come in 20 minutes late. Mr. Pearson, although for a perfectly understandable and acceptable reason, breaks my heart. Emo Kev, come to play at Sundance. Everything's about to happen for this kid. He doesn't know it, Scott. He's mere moments away. And it ain't this night, but he's mere days away, 4 or 5 days away from everything changing.
Yep.
But look at how sensitive he is. And everyone goes like, fucking, you're so sensitive. You take fucking criticism harsh and shit. There you go. I mean, but it's also like when to me, it's like when you have that much anxiety and nervous energy, it's like, it's hard, of course you're emotional. And also, and also like, we need you here, man. Like, this is our first time we're screening. I never done this. Like, yeah. Does a film rep go to this? And he was supposed to, but it doesn't matter. Like, he was making a deal for the girls' movie. So, you feel kind of like, oh, what a dick I was. But like Scott's saying, maybe give me a little room because I was like, oh, I don't know what's happening. I'm nervous. So, introduction in place. We sat down and watched Happy Loving Couples, amusing but long, and then settled back for the very dismissive. Nice to meet you. I enjoy your movie. Amusing but long. And then settled back for the packed house screening of Clerks. It went religiously. Everyone laughed loud and long at all the right times and all the right places. Lines were lost in the laughter. A lot of alliteration. It felt great. It felt that even if we never got picked up, the $27,000 was worth it alone. Patrick, the Chicago writer from our ride home with Mark, he dug it. A woman from American Playhouse slipped us a card. I opted against the Q&A due to the hour, but people still cornered us and gushed. So after the premiere screening of fucking Clerks, the thing that I'm known for, getting up and talking, I was like, no, it's great. We don't have to do it. Because I was like, it's so late. People are going to be tired, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I'd never done a Q&A in my life at this point. So given the opportunity to Q&A after the movie, I don't do it.
You don't do it. I wonder if you decided before.
I think it was based on how well the screening was going and it was so late.
I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah. Like the mojo and shit. I don't know. Or plus I was probably nervous. Like, I don't want to get up and talk. Like, that went great, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? But for whatever reason, I played it right. I feel, well, maybe not, but like I played it like I might as well not. Because again, people are like, why didn't you get up and talk? I'm not the guy that I am now. Like, it begins when I finally get up in Q&A.
When you finally do the first one and you're like, oh.
Yeah, suddenly I'm like, oh, I got this. Yeah, feels good. Feels good.
Quit singing.
I'm sorry. We liked the movie until the fat one came out and sang. What does the young Jesus lookalike have to say? 27,571.
Feels weird.
He doesn't say as much, but it's easier to look at. He'll be the director. What?
This is all not going according to plan. Pearson. Mr. Pearson.
If only Mr. Pearson was here. People still cornered us and gushed. Thank God. We talked to the Pearsons. Yes, he did eventually come. And Tusk for a while. It's so weird to see the word Tusk in this book.
Not in the
and not in reference to Mark Tusk. This is. The happy loving director was really ecstatic and said he'd love to precede us anywhere because we drew him his largest audience. Tusk drives us home. I thanked Ms. That's sad.
You guys need a ride?
No. It's cold out there.
Okay.
Tusk drives us home. I thanked Mrs. Pearson for being there for us. She leaves tomorrow. I'll miss her. Tusk, again, Janet Pearson now controls fucking one of the biggest festivals in the United States. Probably the second one right after Sundance at this point, South by Southwest. Tusk brings us back to the Miramax condo to get stoned and have a beer. Yeah, brother. We're at film. We didn't do this back home. I mean, we drank.
No, it wasn't like our daily thing. It was just like, how fucking fast can we get some beer?
It really was like, it was peer pressure, but nobody was pressuring us. We were just trying to fit in what we assumed, like, it's Hollywood, right? I'll drink. And also probably to deal with nerves and shit. But I probably drank more in this week than I ever drank in my entire life.
I mean, I think it was a mixture of like nerves and just trying to fit in and just also like being like, all right, well, let's fucking do it.
I talked to Mark for a while, sling some barbs, and expressed my gratitude for all he has done. He's a great guy. That's why I sucked his dick. We talk about the newly cut ending. It now needs a closing song, meaning Clerks, because we just trimmed off the ending. He was familiar with it, and he likes that it ended now the way it does, but he's like, it needs a song.
Because all it had is like the fucking haunting type cash register going like.
We dish on other films and watch Ed slowly pass out. And we saw Treya again, too. Yay. Treya Hoving. She was one of the acquisitions, maybe the head of acquisitions or something like that. And she was not wild about Clerks. Mark liked Clerks quite a bit. And she was like, I don't know, it's a boy movie. After a bit, we head back to the condo. All in all, an excellent day. Thank you, God. That's what I was thinking, Scott. That's what was going on in my head on this very day. That's everything we did. As you heard, a very long fucking January 22nd that led to our first screening. That wasn't, I mean, as you can hear, like everything went well and shit, but it's not like, oh my God, they stopped the presses. It was like late at night. By the time it ended, you know, the people who were there were like, that was really fucking fun, man.
But it was our first real screening.
Yes.
And people had obviously, after the IFM screening didn't go well, obviously we knew that people liked the movie.
Yes.
But all those instances where people watched, we weren't there. So we don't have really any experience of being with an audience watching a movie or being with an individual. Like John, Bob Hawke, Peter Broderick, Amy, all those people watched it without us being around. So we really technically have not experienced we know that like, oh, these people like it. And obviously the people at Sundance like it because they put it in, but we've had no actual experience in watching somebody like it.
And we hear over 100 people, 150, whatever the Holiday Village sits, laughing in unison, as you heard it, in all the right moments and shit like that. It was thrilling for us. Yeah. Like we were, you want to talk about high-fiving each other when our younger selves were sucking us off. We were fucking high-fiving in the theater. This was amazing. It was like everything we dreamed about. Like, oh my God, it works. We weren't wrong. It fucking works. And blah, blah, blah. But there was no like, maybe somebody will buy it because we were dead in the water. Everybody had seen the movie and stuff like that. So I don't know. The pressure was off. And as much as like, you know, most people go to Sundance with an unsold movie and they're like looking for that sale and on the prowl, and we were not. So just had a really nice screening that we didn't get the first time at the IFFM where there was only like 10 people there. So boom, there it is. Day one. Now it goes on, and next episode I'll keep going. And we'll go over the rest of the week at Sundance. But I just definitely wanted to take us to our first screening as we celebrate, Scott, heading into the 20th anniversary of Clerks at Sundance. All this year is a big birthday year for Clerks, 20th birthday. And January 24th, on Friday, this Friday, I'm going to be at Sundance on stage for a midnight screening, celebrating Clerks and stuff. So this episode about day one. Next episode, we'll go through the rest, and I'll take you through all the way to when the magic moment when Clerks gets bought, and you'll hear me cry more, and you'll fucking hear me bitch about Andy McDowell page after page. Lots more glorious action from Sundance coming at you when we do part 2 of the Sundance flashback. But before we go for the rest of this week, before we dive into it, something just happened, and we have to absolutely have to address it.
Which is probably, I'm sure, in
the book.
Later.
I mean, I'll jump ahead. Spoilers. And I talk about meeting Jim Jacks, the producer, at a party at Sundance. This is what happened. We're at Sundance. We got an award, filmmaker trophy, and there's a closing night party, and me and Scott we're hanging out there, and guy comes up to me in glasses. He's like, "Are you Kevin Smith, you Clerks guy?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, I'm Jim Jacks." And I was like, "Oh, right on, man. Dazed and Confused and stuff." And he's like, "Yeah." And Jim Jacks been produced Dazed Confused. He produced
Raising
Arizona, which like was our favorite movie of the day, and Tremors, and shucks, what else? He brought Sam Raimi to Hollywood with Darkman.
Yeah.
He had brought John Woo with Hard Target as an exec, I believe. Like he'd made movies that we really dug. Tombstone, which we were quoting like fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So I knew his work and knew him by reputation, knew that like Jim Jacks and Sean Daniels had taken the director of Slacker and let him make his next movie at Universal, and it was called Days Confused, and it was out when we were at the IFFM and stuff a few months earlier. So naturally I knew, who he was. And then we just sat around talking, and Jim Jacks was like a movie geek. And, it was something that was a rare bird in those days in the movie business to actually like the movies. And he loved movies. He was like essentially a movie geek on the internet, and he just happened to have a legitimate job in a movie studio. He'd been an exec. Now in these days, he had this company called Alphaville with Sean Daniels. They were a production company. So we talked for a long time, just talked about the movies and stuff. He said like, Harvey bought your movie. I said, yeah, I got real fucking lucky. He's like, yeah, I was going to buy your movie. I was like, get out of here. He's like, yeah, I wanted to remake it. I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. I'd let you keep like 85% of it. Like,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, right on. And inside I was just like, thank God Harvey bought it.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine remaking this movie and doing it in color. That was the idea.
Yeah.
But he's like, and he's a great guy to talk to and shit. And he's like, when you come out, you coming out to California? I said, maybe, I don't know. I have no idea what happens now. He's like, well, when you come out, cause you probably will talk to people, you come out, you see us at Alphaville. I want to make something with you. I was like, oh, right on. So when me and Moj wound up going out to Hollywood like a month and a half later to do the business rounds, we were flown out by Hollywood Pictures, to meet with them. We met with a bunch of people, but one of the people we wanted to meet with was, I kept saying like, this dude, man, Jim Jacks.
Yeah.
Like, he seemed to really like us. They wanted to buy Clerks, so maybe we can go in there and it's at Universal, and Universal is the home of The Breakfast Club and Do the Right Thing, one of my favorite movies of all time, and The Blues Brothers and Jaws, and oh my God. And that's where their deal was set up. So when we came out to Hollywood, we met with Jim and Sean, and they were like, what do you want to do next? After, we talked about meeting with other people and talked about movies we saw. I was like, what do you want to do next? And I was like, I don't know. We talked about doing like this movie called Mallrats. Like, I love that. What is it? And I was like, it's like Clerks in a mall. And he goes, oh, perfect. And so from that moment forward, the most enthusiastic, probably honestly, like more enthusiastic than us, because it was kind of like not so much a Hail Mary. I'd been putting it together in my head, but it was kind of like, I wanted to make Dogma. But I knew I couldn't make it next. And so I was like, well, this is great. I can make a movie here and a studio movie. So I'll make a studio version of Clerks. And so I say Mallrats, and boom, it just starts kind of moving forward. But Jim loved the idea so much. He breathed life into it. Immediately took us to the Black Tower. Remember? It was like, pitch it to Casey Silver and Nina Jacobson.
Yep.
And so we're pitching this movie. Bob Hawke was with us. It was his birthday. We had been at like Disney, and then we came back and went to this weird fucking meeting that turned into a pitch. So Jim like is in every way, shape, and form the godfather of Mallrats. Nobody else in town was ankling to make Mallrats. To be fair, we never said it to anybody but them. But who knows if it ever would have been made. Now, now maybe it's easier to say, of course, but in 1994, 95, they weren't making R-rated comedies anymore. That genre, teen titty comedy, was gone and dead. They didn't make movies like that. It was just like Clueless came out the same year as Mallrats. And that's a PG-13 movie. So, you get like, lots of balls going past your nose kind of jokes, but nobody's saying fuck. Nobody's saying cursing, talking about sex or something like that. It's all dating game style whoopee type jokes. So Jim loved that though. He's like, oh, make a Porky's. You want to make like a smart Porky's. He was the one that coined the phrase, the smart Porky's was Jim. So Jim was the godfather of Mallrats. And, if you love Mallrats, you probably saw him on the 10th anniversary DVDs and the documentary, and he was there on stage with us for the for the Q&A and stuff like that. He's made a bunch of movies over the course of his career, but Mallrats, if you're a fan of what we've done, without Jim, there's no Mallrats, and Mallrats sets the tone for the rest of my career. Like it's a big part of my mythology, not just my professional mythology, but my personal mythology. And, you know, after that, I'm like, who am I? Fucking indie or studio? And I fucking make a choice and it's Chasing Amy, and that changes everything predicates on Mallrats. Chasing Amy I often referred to as Mallrats I referred to as a $6 million casting call for Chasing Amy. Like Mallrats built my future with Joey, Ben, Jason. Like everything I do was informed by what we did, the people we met on Mallrats. Yep. So Jim was there for the shaping of it and very responsible for all that. Jim Jacks at age 66 on Monday had a heart attack out of nowhere and dropped dead and is just gone. Yeah. And you know, it was a real fucking stunner. Jim's older than us by 20 years. And so naturally I always assumed or hoped, and not in a shitty way, but like older people go before younger people. I assumed one day Jim would die and he would, you know, if I kept myself up from harm's way, he likely might die before me, but not this soon. Yeah, it wasn't. Like it's almost coming up on the 20th anniversary of that conversation, you know, in that room. And I was just like, it just hit so hard and came out of fucking nowhere. And I started thinking about everything that came from Jim Jacks and everything that developed. Like that was our transition. You know, you're hearing me read the version of me that just like doesn't exist anymore. And the person that I am today was shaped by Jim Jacks. Some stupid shit. Jim Jacks was like the first guy who treated us seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like we got bought by Miramax, but like you all heard the story about how Harvey didn't want it. And then he, you know, later on we'll find out, obviously we know he comes to want it, but you know, it was, you rarely meet somebody who just believes in you flat out right off the cuff and from the jump. And this guy absolutely did it. And he took us into his house. We lived with Jim while we were making Mallrats in post and even in pre and casting, you know, and he was like the guy who would take us out to eat. Like he was 40, I guess 45 at the time, maybe 46. Well, 46, it'd be 66. And so we were 23, 22 and I'm 43 now. And I got like young people around me like Ashley or fucking Jordan, Jason's wife, JC and Josh, the guys who shoot with us and stuff all the time. And you like it. There's a vitality having young people. And now I understand why he loved having us around. Like Jim he wasn't married. He didn't have kids. Movies were his fucking life. And he was a movie geek. And in his world, people didn't really geek out about movies. It was all about bottom line. He hated the movie business. He'd been a studio executive and then he had his deal at Universal, but like he couldn't talk about love of movies there. Here he hangs out with like two brand new filmmakers in their 20s who are like, oh my God, we not only can we talk about movies, we love the movies that you made and blah, blah, blah. So naturally it was like, must have been great for him to hang out with us. And we did hang out with him and he let us live with him and stuff like that. He would take us like shopping. He taught us things like, you know, shaped us in weird ways. Like we would go to the Laserdisc store with him. He bought everything. One copy of everything, even shit that he knew he didn't like or want. And we were like, why would you do that? And he was just like, I support the industry that supports me. So he's like, I buy it all. And maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I don't, but I want to expect somebody's going to buy my movie too. So it's all tax deductible. He's like, we get to write it off and as research. So why not? You know, you got this money to spend. Why not? If you're going to blow cash on stuff, why cars? Why not movies? That's what we do. Just made sense. And we were sitting in a room where I'm surrounded by fucking DVDs, many of which are not open. Like he'd have so many DVDs, he'd buy extras and doubles and laser discs rather. Extras and doubles. And, you know, then he'd put all the doubles together and he'd be like, pick through them, take what you want. Like baseball cards. And these were expensive. 50 to 100 bucks.
But it was exciting.
And I remember sitting there and we were talking like, who would ever be this irresponsible that you would rebuy Close Encounters 3 fucking times, $150 box set and shit, CAV Laserdisc. Like you don't remember you bought it. I was like, I could never be this guy. And you'll see multiple copies here that are unopened as well. He'd take us out to eat a lot of Dan Tana's, Daily Grill and stuff. And we'd stayed at his place. Like he had this palatial Hollywood joint. Remember he rented it and we were like, told us what he rented it for. It fucking blew my hair back.
Yeah.
It was like $7,000 a month. And I'd never heard something like that. I was like, you're not owning this. You just rent it. Like $7,000 that you'll never see back every month. That is $77,000 plus 7,000. That's another $84,000 a year. Like this is crazy. But that's, you know, I was not from that world at all and stuff.
Yeah.
Great place, pool. We got to hang out there and shit. Big screening room. We can watch all these movies, take us out to the movies and stuff. Great fucking dude. And, you know, was a big believer in Mallrats, you know, the guy that shepherded it all the way. Fucking without him, who knows what happens? Who knows what I become? You know, nobody's perfect. He was the guy that was like, I was like, I'm going to make this movie Chasing Amy. It's about, you know, the guy who falls in love with a lesbian. And Jim's like, why don't you set it in high school? Like Clueless. And I was like, huh. All right. He's like, yeah, I can get that made. High school lesbian movie. It'd advance the cause and like, you know. And so, you know, I started writing. Somewhere on my laptop, there's 15 pages of a Chasing Amy movie set in fucking high school. Yeah. Until Mallrats comes out, doesn't do well. And I'm like, what am I fucking doing? I gotta be me. And I go back and start writing, the real Chasing Amy. So Jim Jacks, man, an insanely influential guy who, whenever I think of him, I always think about he had these long note cards. I got note cards later on because of him. You put your name at the bottom from the desk of Jim Jacks. Yeah. Alphaville logo was at the top or whatever. And so, you know, he'd write down all his projects.
Yeah, all the things he had.
He had a lot of filmmakers he was tight with. Talk about Billy Bob and the Coen brothers. He called them the Coens. Billy Bob, you know, you make a movie, Kevin Scott, Billy Bob and the Coens. And me and Scott would fucking love it because we'd sit around talking about the Jim Jacks Variety Hour, a show that he hosted where he's like, ladies and gentlemen, fresh from their tour across the continental United States, like, you know, Billy Bob and the Coens. Like they were a band. And Billy Bob and the Coens, even though we talk about them a lot, we never saw them. So on the variety show, somebody would run out to him and be like, he'd be like, what do you mean they're not here? Who else? Kevin Jarre, Sam Raimi. He'd talk about all these people, man, who he worked with and shit, and always had all these projects with them in the future. The Coen Brothers movie was always Intolerable Cruelty, and it eventually got made with Ron Howard directing and stuff. So, you know, we were on the list. Dogma was on the list at one point. Kevin Jarre, his movies, and he was the guy that had written Glory, I believe, and he had other stuff. The Jackal was a movie that Jim had on his list for a while, eventually got made and stuff. So I think of him, I think of those long note cards. And I also think about how preoccupied he was with success, like with like monetary success in the movie business. He wanted a big commercial hit. Yeah. You know, he was the one that was like, this Mallrats movie could make $100 million. He was always searching for it could make $100 million and stuff. And he eventually got it with the Mummy
franchise.
He was in charge of the Mummy franchise, which made a gazillion bucks and made him a player. And Jim Jacks. Everyone always knew Jim Jackson liked him. And that was the thing that always made me sad about Jim. He felt like that Mummy validated him in the business. He was always worried where he stood in the business, but it's like, dude, you were validated by giving Richard Linklater a chance to make Dazed and Confused, by bringing Sam Raimi into the industry, by getting fucking Raising Arizona made at Circle Films with the Coen brothers, taking a shot on the guys who did Blood Simple, which you love so much. Like, he impacted the movie business. Didn't have to, make the money and shit. But he was I don't know if he was an only child. I think he had siblings, a brother or something like that. I don't remember. But he never got married, never had kids, and his dad was military. And if I remember the history, his parents didn't really like him in the movie business, and we're not ashamed of him, but just like, this is
more upstanding professions.
Yeah, there's better ways to make a movie, James, or make a living, James, and blah, blah, blah. And he called his dad the Colonel and stuff like that. So what he craved, what he always felt would make him happy was big commercial success. And like I said, he eventually had it with the Mummy. But whenever I'd see him and talk about, when he talked about the Mummy, it was just like, and he'd go on about the Mummy and what it did and the rides and blah, blah, blah. And I would always be like, Jim, that's great, but dude, you're the man that fucking got Dazed and Confused made. And to a lot of people in this world, you're the guy that made Mallrats. You brought Sam Raimi you brought John Woo to America to make movies. Granted, it was hard target, but whatever, you got him here. you've done so much. Don't sweat it, dude. Don't sweat it. And he did sweat it. And finally he got it and stuff like that. He passed away, and I've seen him many times over the years. I really tried to think the last time I saw him was at a Twilight premiere a couple of years back. I was talking to my kid about it, going like, oh, it was like 2 years ago, right? And she was like, I was 10, Dad. And she's 14 now. I was like, so it was 4 years ago I saw Jim. You know, he'd been here. I'd seen him around the way. We seen him running into each other at Twilight premieres quite a bit. But I hadn't seen him in like the last few years. And when I heard that he died, the first thing that went through my head was like, you fucking fool. That man could tell stories.
Yeah.
I should have just had him here rambling.
Yeah.
Into a microphone about all that rich history that he would share with us over dinner and shit like that. And I sat there going, how did it not happen? How did I not? And I remember talking to him about, come over, you got to come over and podcast with me. And it just never happened. You think you have all the time in the world. And then just one day, one day you read on Twitter that the man who changed your life dropped dead.
Yeah.
He was a good guy, Jim Jacks, man. Like a real.
Well, you can't never underestimate the power of enthusiasm. And like him being like at that specific time, like he was, like you said, like he was enthusiastic about us. And it's like, that is how you move forward, especially in this business, but in life where it's like, you need those people. You need those people who can sort of make you feel like you're awesome. And then that's how you get shit done.
He even made us more valuable at Miramax.
Yeah.
We got a deal with Miramax, an overall deal, not off of Clerks, but like we went off and made Mallrats. And after that, I was, they were like, hey man, why don't you come here before Mallrats open? Thank God we made an overall deal with Miramax. Then Mallrats didn't open, but it was predicated on like, oh, you went off and made a studio movie and stuff. So he even made us more valuable in our world.
But it's also like, in that world, especially in this community, it's like not everybody's ready to make the leap. And because this is a business famous for people being afraid of being wrong.
Yeah.
And that's where Jim was different. Jim was real like he was the one who came forward and was like totally willing to back us and totally willing to see where, to see what we could possibly do. And so, that's why, he deserves a ton of credit. And
never got married, never had kids. Movies were his whole life. And so yesterday, I saw there were a few like mini obits for him and like the trades, and nobody really wrote that much about Sundance is going on. So I don't know. I just felt like, man, nobody fucking, it was one of those like stop all the clocks moments where you're like, are you shitting me? Jim Jackson's dad fucking shut down the town for a day.
Yeah.
So I wrote about him in a blog on Facebook, and then I just communicated. I was like, you fucking did it, dude. Like, don't worry about, like, I'm glad you had the mummy and all that shit, but like you wrote your name in the fucking stars with all those fucking wonderful movies that he was involved with. And we were one of them for like a brief moment in time. And we learned who we would be for a little while from him. He was a guy who was like a movie geek who was existing in the movie business. He was a dude who had good taste, and he was making movies that we could get behind, even though they were a studio, you know, because at that time that kind of shit mattered to us. If you love us and you love Mallrats, kids, you take a moment of silence for good old Jim Jacks. He made sure that some fucking movies that mean the world to you got made back in the day. And he made a difference. He stomped on the terror.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. When we come back next week, I'm getting old mood. When we come back next week, we will dive back into the Clerks journal, where there's lots more laughs, lots more bitching about Ann McDowell, And spoilers, something magical happens to the boys. Movie gets bought. But how it gets bought, you're going to fucking hear about when we come back next week on Smodcast. But that is Smodcast for this week, man. I'm Kevin Smith.
Scott Mosier.
Have a week.
This has been a production of Smodco Internet Radio. Sir, only at smodcast.com.